Every morning, before the sun touched the rooftops, an old man named Elias would wake up in a small wooden shack at the edge of the city. He was 87 years old. His back was bent, his hands trembled, and every step he took looked painful. But despite his age, Elias had one goal every single day: to survive one more day. Years ago, he had a family, a job, and a home filled with laughter. He worked as a carpenter for nearly 50 years, building houses for other people while dreaming of a peaceful retirement with his wife. But life had different plans. His wife passed away after a long illness. His children moved far away in search of better opportunities, and slowly, the calls became fewer, until they stopped completely. Now, the only sound that greeted him each morning was the wind pushing through the cracks of his shack. Elias owned almost nothing. An old blanket, a broken chair, and a photograph of his wife that he kept beside his bed. On most days, he survived by collecting empty plastic bottles and metal scraps from the streets. He would place them carefully into a torn sack and walk for hours under the hot sun. People passed him every day. Some looked away. Some pretended not to see him. And a few laughed at the slow old man dragging a heavy bag behind him. But Elias never begged. He believed that as long as he could still stand, he would continue fighting for his dignity. One cold afternoon, after searching the streets for nearly 6 hours, Elias had earned the equivalent of less than $1. It was barely enough to buy a small loaf of bread. As he sat on a bench outside a tiny shop, he divided the bread into 2 pieces. He ate one half slowly and wrapped the other half in paper for the next morning. Then something happened. A little girl, no older than 8, approached him with curious eyes. She noticed his shaking hands and the way he guarded the second piece of bread. "Grandpa," she asked softly, "aren't you hungry?" Elias smiled gently. "I am," he replied, "but tomorrow is another battle." The girl looked at him for a moment, then ran back to her mother. A few minutes later, she returned carrying a warm container of soup and a small bag of groceries. Elias was speechless. No one had shown him that kind of kindness in years. Tears filled his eyes as he held the warm container against his chest. That night, for the first time in a long time, he ate a full meal. But the story doesn't end there. The little girl kept visiting him. She told her neighbors about the old man who worked every day just to survive. Soon, people in the community began bringing food, clothes, and medicine. Someone repaired his roof. Another person brought a proper bed. A local doctor checked his health for free. Elias had spent years believing he had been forgotten by the world. Yet in his darkest moment, a single act of kindness changed everything. Months later, when neighbors asked him what kept him going through all those lonely years, Elias looked at the photograph of his wife and said, "Life broke my body, but it never broke my hope. As long as there is one kind heart left in this world, no one is truly alone." And every evening, as the sun disappeared behind the city, the old man who once struggled just to survive would sit outside his repaired home, smiling quietly at the children playing nearby. Because sometimes, the greatest miracle is not becoming rich. It is simply finding people who remind you that your life still matters. Love stories like this. Subscribe to World Decode and never miss the next adventure.